Is Nick Castellanos worth the risk? Should the Giants take a chance on him? Let's break it down right here on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. My name is Alan Stiles, and thanks to you, Locked On is now the #1 sports podcast network. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay, but I live in Sacramento now, and I host a show on Sacktown Sports 1140, as well as emceeing Sacramento Rivercast games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Today, we are discussing whether or not the Giants should take a chance on Nick Castellanos, another winter roundup where another big name pitcher is off the board. There is still one. Should the Giants be in on them, or are they done? And last but not least, some spring training notes. Buster Posey was on the flagship station, as well as some interesting words that Greg Johnson had to say. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with a bet on FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Okay, so I'm going to be honest with y'all. It's a Friday. I'm in a good mood. I hope you're in a good mood. And I'm thanking you so much for joining the conversation and listening to the show and watching the show. We have to do this Nick Castellanos thing, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm completely out. I've never really been a Nick Castellanos fan. I think the whole thing with a tragedy when he hits a home run, yeah, it's kind of funny, not the tragedy part, but the fact that he always hits a home run. Yeah, it's kind of a coincidence, funny a little bit, but he's never really been my cup of tea. So some people were reaching out to me saying, Alan, would you go after him? I'm so out on that, but let's just go through the flow and talk about what he has done in his career and whether or not he's somebody the Giants should take a chance on. Let's first start with how we got here, people. And how we got here is very interesting. Okay, this is not your typical release as he was released from the Phillies. He put out a statement. It was a handwritten statement on social media. And within the statement, he mentioned something that happened during the season last year. Okay, and this is how The Athletic broke it down. The beginning of the end for Nick Castellanos' time in Philadelphia came when he cracked open a Presidente beer and carried the green bottle into the Phillies dugout in the middle of a game in June. Removed for defensive purposes, Castellanos directed his ire at Phillies coaches. The beer served as a prop. If not in the game, he was on vacation. Two players who were not on the field tried to usher Castellanos out of sight before cameras could capture a player drinking a beer in an active dugout. But something changed that night in Miami when, in the eyes of Castellanos' teammates, a line had been crossed. You can't disrespect the manager and talk to him the way he did, one Phillies player said. You can't expect it all to be the same after that. Yeah, there was the Cerveza situation, and he also said some things that basically the players said you just can't say, right? You just can't do. So that's such a no for me. And if you want to argue why the Giants should get him in the comments, please do. If I see something that makes sense, I'll get to it. I'll say it on one of the future shows next week. But on top of the fact, I just don't necessarily like how Nick Castellanos has gotten down throughout his career. He hasn't really been productive when it's mattered the most. I mean, he's coming off a $100 million salary, right? It was, he made $64 million, okay, in Cincinnati, $64 million over 4 years, then signed 5 years, $100 million with the Phillies. And to me, it just never really worked. It just never really was worth the squeeze. So he signed that, what was that, 5 years ago. He was an all-star once. They didn't even finish out the contract. They released him. They still owe him 20 mil or something like that. So he was an all-star in 2023. Before that, he was an all-star in 2021 in Cincinnati. He's a two-time all-star. He's been in the league for 13 years. He's a two-time all-star. He made his money. Good for him. I'm not a fan. You can probably tell by the tone of my voice. Last season, okay, in his career, let's start with his career. In his career, he has hit 272, which, yeah, that's respectable, with 321 OBP, 464 slugging, 785 OPS. That's solid. I'm not even going to hate. That's solid. 250 home runs throughout his career. He doesn't really steal bags. He had 11 that all-star year in Philly, but besides that, 6 2 years ago and 4 last year. He has not really done much as far as this past season was concerned. He had 250. So, yeah, I mean, his batting average is always decent. He had 250. His on-base percentage was 294, which is not good. His slugging was 400. His OPS was 694. And he had to get replaced on defense. He was a negative -0.8. All right, as far as his WAR is concerned. He played in 147 games, and he had 547 at-bats. He's more of a doubles guy. I was talking to a buddy about him. He had 27 doubles last season. That's kind of just what he does. He does go crazy when it comes to doubles. 27 last season, 30 the season before that, 37 in that all-star season, 27 before that, 38 in the previous all-star season. He's a doubles guy. Cool. No, thank you. We already have enough guys, the Giants do, that can hardly field. And I shouldn't say hardly field, but we're still trying to figure out what that defense is going to look like. And we already have enough DHs. And you're trying to build a culture. The argument that I did see is that the Giants are trying to be this bad boy on the block, bat flipping and getting scrappy with other teams. Doesn't Nick Castellanos fit that? Maybe if you squint your eyes a little bit, sure, but no thank you. I'll take trying to take the roster we currently have and turn them into bad boys versus bringing in somebody who's so bad, he's bad for the team. You're not supposed to be bad for your own team. The whole bad boy thing, that's about being bad and getting into it with the other team, not getting into it with your own team and with your manager and with the coaching staff. That's not how this works. You cannot bring this guy in with Tony Vitello. Obviously, he's just getting started. I don't doubt that Tony Vitello maybe could turn things around for Nick Castellanos. I'm just saying, as the old saying goes, the juice is not worth the squeeze. We don't need this at all, right? I know Castellanos played a lot of right field as well. Let's see what Jung Hoo Lee can do, okay? DH, we got enough DHs. We can figure it out. Even if Castellanos would help a little bit, I just don't think you can bring that in. The dude is, 34 now? He's 33, probably turning 34. He turns 34 in March, early March, March 4th, okay? So you're about to be 34 years old, and you're 33 years old bringing a beer into the dugout. Like, what are we doing? What are we actually doing, man? That type of stuff just annoys the heck out of me. And there is no world where the Giants should bring in Castellanos. Like, not one. I'll watch Marvel. There's not even an alternate dimension where you should bring in Nick Castellanos. There's no Thanos, snap the finger. I don't care. Okay? No alternate reality, into the Spider-Verse, into the Giant-verse. No. Somebody else can pick him up, and maybe he ends up burning the Giants. I could see the Padres or somebody like that saying, bleep it, bring him in and see what he can do. I'm cool. And I'm not trying to grandstand and be on this moral high ground. I just never really rocked with the guy like that even prior to this. So this is an easy excuse for me to say that that would be a terrible idea. On top of the fact that his production is not outstanding. It's not worth the headache. If you had Shohei level production or Aaron Judge production, I'm not that moral high ground type of guy. Bring him in. But for somebody where you're going to have to worry about a defensive replacement, who are you going to replace him with? You only get so many guys in the dugout. You already got Elliot Ramos, right? So to me, this is a complete non-starter. Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on social media if you think I'm way off on this. But I am O-U-T out. Now let's get back to some of the other notes. Somebody was in on Chris Bassitt. We'll tell you who it is on the other side. And the pretty penny that they had to pay, maybe the Giants were onto something. Let's do a comparison between Chris Bassitt and who the Giants brought in. More Locked On Giants coming up. The Winter Games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about the most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of curling matches that start slow and somehow get intense fast. Speed skating races decided by inches. Hockey games that feel different right from opening face-off. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Giants with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more. All for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to Locked On SFGiants at supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. If you're a true diehard Giants fan, the Everydayer All Access tier is built for you. You'll get one-on-one text access with me, all access episodes, an exclusive newsletter, and a 15% discount to the Locked On merch store. Head to LockedOnSFGiants at supercast.com to join the Everydayer Club and unlock all access. You can also find a link in the show notes. So the Orioles continue their busy offseason as they decide to sign former AL East foe, longtime J, Chris Bassitt. Chris Bassitt, who is now, 36 years old, is now headed to Baltimore, but staying in a familiar division, of course. And yeah, he turns 37 in a couple weeks. So he's about to turn 37. So, of course, a lot of people are saying that the Giants and other teams missed out, but it was not cheap to get Chris Bassitt. This is from MLB Trade Rumors. The Orioles are reportedly in agreement with starter Chris Bassitt on a 1-year, $18.5 million contract pending a physical. Bassitt, client of Meister Sports Management, receives a $3 million signing bonus and would unlock another $500K if he reaches 27 starts. Baltimore has an opening on the 40-man roster after losing infielder Brian Ramos on waivers to St. Louis. President of Baseball Operations Mike Elias has made a habit of signing veteran starters to 1-year deals over the past few years. They found some success with Kyle Gibson in 2023. Last winter's reunions with Gibson and Charlie Morton did not go as planned. Bassitt is in a similar stage of his career as he nears his 37th birthday, but he should have a higher floor than those previous additions. Bassitt didn't reach 100 MLB innings in a season until his age 30 campaign in 2019. He has been a consistent mid-rotation presence over the last 7 years. Only once did his earned run average climb north of 4. His 229 mark during the shortened season was a small sample outlier, but he has otherwise been a safe bet to allow between 3 and 4 earned runs per 9 while logging a heavy workload. Bassitt has surpassed 150 innings in each of the last 5 seasons, one of just 6 pitchers to do that. He's 8th in total innings over that stretch. Okay, they go on to say that his velo has ticked down, but 18.5 million, I mean, that's a pretty penny. And I wanted to compare him to Adrian Hauser. And this is not me being a homer at all and trying to carry water for the Giants, because Bassitt is better, right? Or he has been better. There's no doubt about it. My question to you, when you sign Adrian Hauser to a 2-year, $22 million contract, which means for $4 million more, you get him for 2 years, and he is in his early 30s versus Chris Bassitt in his late 30s. How do you think that looks for the Giants, and does that make you feel a little bit better? So Chris Bassitt, last season, he was 11-9 with a 2.1 WAR. Adrian Hauser was 8-5 with the 3.3 WAR. His ERA was a 3.31. Chris Bassitt was a 3.96. Chris Bassitt started in 31 games. Adrian Hauser started in 21 games. Innings pitched, Adrian Hauser 125 to Chris Bassitt's 170. Chris Bassitt had 166 strikeouts. Adrian Hauser had 92. And obviously they added Tyler Mahle as well. But I just wanted to stick with Adrian Hauser because for $4 million more, you got him for 2 years. And he is 33 years old. He just turned 33 a couple weeks ago, February 2nd. So depending on how you look at it, it's easy to sit there and say that the Giants should have been in on some of these guys, but names do carry a lot of weight here. And the way I'm looking at this, hopefully Adrian Hauser can be what he was last season. But if he is, it's kind of worth it to me. It's not my money. I get it. But 1 year for a 37-year-old Chris Bassitt versus 2 years for a 33-year-old Adrian Hauser just $4 million more does seem like a good deal based on the difference. Now, obviously, Chris Bassitt, he's a workhorse. That's who he is. He can manage a lot of innings, and that's part of why they're paying him that money. But with Adrian Hauser and some of the young guys, I understand why the Giants, specifically why they wouldn't be in on somebody like Chris Bassitt, because for this late in the game, that's kind of a pretty penny. Some of the other news that's been floating around, because I know a lot of people have been asking about Zac Gallen. Robert Murray, he was on Foul Territory, and he mentioned how Zac Gallen could return to the Diamondbacks. He also talked about the Angels and Braves, not necessarily in a sense that they're interested. He just says that they make sense. He did not mention the Giants at all, just from the conversation of whether or not they should be in on Zac Gallen. So it feels like around the league, they are pretty confident saying that the Giants are just good and solid with what they're doing. We'll see what happens with Max Scherzer. But besides that, somebody else that's truly going to be an integral part of your rotation doesn't feel like the Giants are making any leaps there or trying to add in anything else, which is basically what we knew. But, as we get further into spring training, you can even tell in the shows that I'm doing, there's kind of less about the free agents. This Nick Castellanos thing just popped up, but less about free agents and trades and more about let's see where everybody is at with the current roster, because that's what they're signaling to us. I'm not going to continue to talk about possible trades and things like that if clearly, and obviously free agents, if clearly the Giants aren't headed in that direction anymore, besides maybe some fringe guys. And no disrespect to Max Scherzer, but I would categorize him as kind of a fringe guy, just from the standpoint of I don't think he's going to slot in to their everyday rotation to start. But maybe he could, but he's also got to sign with the Giants first before we have any of those conversations. One more segment with you. You're not going to want to miss what Giants ownership had to say about the Dodgers, as well as what Ryan Walker had to say about the closing role. And he wants it bad. More Locked On Giants coming up. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed Sponsored Jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with qualified candidates and quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills, certifications, and location. If I were hiring, I wouldn't want just someone who can help. I'd want someone with real experience who can jump right in. That's what I like about Indeed. You can get specific and target exactly what you need. It saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through mismatches, and with sponsored jobs, your post gets seen by candidates who actually are a fit. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. One more segment with you on a beautiful Friday, or if you're watching or listening to this on the weekend. And yeah, you're not going to want to miss what the Giants ownership had to say. This is from Greg Johnson, and he was talking about the Dodgers. This is from Ron Kroichik of the San Francisco Chronicle. This is out at Pebble Beach. This is just rich people stuff, right? Out at Pebble Beach, just having a time. San Francisco Giants chairman Greg Johnson faced a foe more imposing than the Los Angeles Dodgers on Tuesday. Johnson mostly struggled at ever-demanding Spyglass Hill in the first round of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, but he finished with a flourish, rolling home a 25-foot par putt on his final hole. Then, smiling widely, Johnson half-skipped toward pro partner Tommy Fleetwood for a "that was cool" fist bump. Moments later, on a gorgeous day, along the Monterey Peninsula. Johnson stood in the sunshine reflecting on his baseball team's winter moves and contemplating the season ahead. The Giants made a flurry of acquisitions in hopes of keeping up or not falling further behind their big spending World Series champion rivals. It was Buster Posey's second offseason as president of baseball operations, trying to pump fresh life into the Giants as they chase their first playoff berth since 2021. Johnson lauded Posey for perpetually seeking ownership's approval to bump up the payroll. There you go, Buster. That's what we like to hear. That stands at $227.1 million, among the top 10 to 12 figures in the majors, but still well behind top spenders like the Mets, Phillies, and Yankees. Quote, "We haven't had to say no to Posey yet, but we're getting there," Johnson said, chuckling. That's very interesting. So I do wonder, the Framber Valdez's, the Cody Bellingers, did Buster not come to them or not ask about some of those guys, Cody Ponce, guys like that? Did Buster not ask about some of these? We talked before about maybe Buster knows that there's a certain budget and he wants to use that budget wisely. And if you are going to press that red button, you want to be sure you press it for the right reason. And is Tarek Skubal next season a reason to press that button? We shall see. Posey added 4 notable players. Okay, we already know about that. And Johnson said this: "We're still looking," Johnson said. "We know you can never have enough arms in the bullpen." All the while, the Dodgers march along in their own stratosphere. 1 year after adding the game's premier player in Shohei Ohtani, Los Angeles just keeps spending. They go out, they get Kyle Tucker, Edwin Diaz. I almost forgot they got Edwin Diaz. This is so ridiculous at this point. And let's get to the good stuff, what Johnson had to say about the Dodgers. Quote, "They're aggressive and they have a good team," Johnson finally said, "but baseball is baseball. We can beat them." He goes on to say, "It was an incredible World Series. Even people who are not baseball people were just amazed at how riveting it was. I just think it's good for all of us that the Dodgers have the star power to draw people to baseball. I'm not a Dodgers fan. I don't want them to win, but I'll take the high road and say it's good for baseball." So that's what he had to say there. And then it gets broken down into other topics that he addressed in the 15-minute conversation with the Chronicle on those 4 offseason acquisitions. Quote, "I think we were opportunistic on a lot of moves. If we assessed weaknesses in the last year of play, I would say we've addressed every one of them where we had holes. On fans trusting Posey's front office decisions, given his success as a player, I've said this before, Buster is the only guy in his 30s where I feel like I'm the young guy with him sometimes. He's thoughtful and just carries himself so well. I think the other thing he's trying to do is build a team of competitors, gritty guys, and I think he's done that with Bader and some of these guys who fit the bill. Willie Adames was such a great ad. He just pulls guys together." On how former managers Dusty Baker and Bruce Bochy will help Tony Vitello, I think they're having an impact. Tony already has been having conversations with both of them. They'll give as much as he wants. They love the Giants and they want to help. On his expectations for attendance, here we go. "I think it's a big function of the city, and the city looks stronger than ever right now. We were slower than many teams in our recovery from the pandemic. We lagged the league in sponsorships and corporate things in the park after COVID because nobody was really coming to San Francisco. That's really moved forward in the last 2 years. The city is a lot stronger now than it was even at the start of last year. People are comfortable coming, and that bodes well for attendance." Okay, so great stuff from Ron Kroichek of the Chronicle. Okay, so everybody's just going to be nice to the Dodgers because that's the right thing to do. And look, I think at this point, everyone feels as if the writing is on the wall with this lockout. Jeff Passan, we read it yesterday, they're ready to burn the house down and, really take their stance and take this thing as far as it can go to get what they feel is fair throughout the league. And I know the players feel the same way. So nobody's going to say anything negative because they're going to have to be in conversations with all of these other owners in about a year. Okay. So I wouldn't imagine that you're going to see a lot of, annoyance or shots being fired at any other team because they know what's coming. So, I thought what was interesting, the biggest part about that was him saying that he never had to tell Buster no. So that tells me, honestly, and I don't want to read too much into it, that maybe Buster didn't love this crop of players, or Buster maybe has a longer term plan, or he knew I already asked for a lot in the previous season, adding on Devers and Adames and Chapman with that extension. And if you really liked somebody, cool. I'm just throwing out the Tarek Skubal thing because why not? Maybe Buster wants to hold that note for somebody that he really thinks can take this thing over the top. The other note I wanted to bring up was Ryan Walker. I know, we weren't sure where Ryan Walker's head was at as we were mentioning Hayden Birdsong as the closer. This is what Ryan Walker had to say. I'm coming in with the mentality of earning that spot. I'm not here to sit around and be like, oh, I just want the job. I'm coming in with the full mentality of I'm going to earn this role and it's going to be good. I love the role. I love the high leverage situations, and that's where I want to be. I have no other intentions. I'm going to be honest. I love hearing that. Do I love Ryan Walker as a closer? Depends on the day. But I do love hearing that he is going after it. He's attacking it. We talked about the yips and things like that. He is not letting this thing, I guess, consume him, and he's trying to get that fresh start and be the guy for the Giants. So I can appreciate that. Not sure if it's going to happen, but he is going to get the nod early, I would assume, because the Giants have the most familiarity with him, and hopefully it works out. I mean, when he's on, he is on. He just wasn't on towards the end of the season when the Giants kind of needed him to be on. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Thank you for watching Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow me on social media at @_Styles Files, Styles with an I. Hope everybody has a good weekend. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Giants ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to LockedOnSFGiants@supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On MLB. Great week. Baseball is back. We will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, peace.